suggest, Mr. Chairman, that be reflected in recommendations B and C.
Well, no,
somehow.
we've only got one motion on the floor at the moment, and it's not an amendment. It's what Councillor Filipina jumped in and put on the table.
Yeah.
The motion, which
Mr. Chairman,
is
you
option
accepted
3.
it.
Well, option 3. Well, it
So
wasn't put on as an amendment. It's not an amendment.
No.
So Chair, is there a right of reply?
Yeah, there's a right of reply.
Thank you.
So
It's an amendment, is it?
next speaker is
That's what I
Councillor
mean.
Stewart.
It's an alternative motion. That's the
Thank you. A
purest
lot of
amendment
it's
you could
actually
ever
been
think
said, but the presentation from the Otara Pepatoi Local Board and the Mingri Otahu Local Board really told the real story, that it is actually really out south where all the problems are. And one of the main problems is that when they're at hearings, a lot of the objectors feel very intimidated, and they actually need to have maybe a council champion, especially for out that area, that can actually champion and assist. When, you know, you have at the hearings, you have you have all the liquor licensing. They have lawyers and presenters, and they have a lot of assistance. And when you have people that are going in there that are just very passionate about the issue and not able to present, I just wonder whether we can actually look into having a council champion.
We're not talking about what happens at the hearings. We're talking about what is going to be the organisation structure for the committees in the future.
Yeah, but anyway, I think we could probably take that into some sort of
we've heard what they said.
I think it is something that is really lacking, and they've come here this morning to present their case, and I think that sounds like that's one of the main issues for them, is that they really do need to have some help.
Okay, Marguerite's going to answer.
Through the Chair, this is exactly why we're proposing that work program. Through the review and through 1 year of experience, we have heard that there's some areas where we can try and do things better, and to the extent that we can do it within the existing legislation, that's exactly what we're proposing to do. So things like reviewing where the hearings are held, the hours at which they are held, making them more accessible through plain English and less intimidating to the extent that we can, are all those initiatives that we want to build in that work program to really try and make it more accessible.
Yeah, but I still think that they do need to have somebody that can champion their case for them.
Yes.
That can be built today.
No.
Okay, you wish to speak further, Councillor Stewart?
No, that's okay.
Thank you. Councillor Cashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to acknowledge and congratulate the local boards who have presented here, and also the comments that have been made. I think it's important, very important, that at this point in time we look at those recommendations, which is, it's about approve the development of a work program that captures the improvement opportunities identified. And Councillor Stewart's identified a potential work program, as have Councillors Filipina and Casey. I don't believe it's the point in time now to pull the handbrake hard and have a change of direction. We need to have some consistency here. And there's lots of different things in play, including the local alcohol policy, which sets the council's overarching framework. And there's lots of recommendations about that. You've heard about, the suggestions and recommendations to the DLCs from the LAP. You've heard about the freeze. You've heard about the rebuttable presumption. These things are all going to have an impact, and we need to take those into context. And remembering that this is a quasi-judicial process with the DLCs, and there can't be a predetermined or even a assumed or perceived predetermined positioning by anyone on the DLCs. It is quasi-judicial. So we need to have those further recommendations. We need to take this process in a logical step-by-step process, so we do get those good consistency outcomes. We do get a friendly environment, and we do help our communities purvey and push forward their positions and their outcomes that they desire around these policies. We don't need to rush into it at this point in time. Let's do it in a logical manner that's thoughtful and well processed, and thoroughly canvass the ideas and concepts that have been proposed.
Thank you. Mr Wilcox.
Yeah, mine is just straight questions. I'm not talking to anything. How long have we got to go till the LAP starts to kick in?
Mid-2016.
I mean, the 30 days. How much longer have we got to go? Or have we received appeals?
The appeal period closes on the 18th of June.
That's when we'll know whether it's going to 2020 or whatever. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Number two,
Irina.
does it cost us any more money to have 20 commissioners or 50 commissioners?
Through the chair, it doesn't really cost any more money from paying them perspective, so commissioners and members are paid for each hearing. The expense would be through extra staff time in coordinating and allocating the workload amongst those chairs and members, and also any additional recruitment costs as well.
Okay, so my question is then, what will be the process for reducing commissioners? What's the criteria that we're going to use? Because I'm hearing that if most of them are happening in the central city, wouldn't 80% of the commissioners then be, if we go to the local board process, be all in the central city? And that means we'll lose more SA commissioners, is that right? If we're going to reduce them?
Through the chair, in theory, yes, that would be the case.
So instead of having the 8 now, we could actually end up with 4 and 15 from the central city, is that right?
Through the chair,
On these figures we've got now.
on the figures that we have now, 8 is around about representative of the correct allocation for the number of hearings in the south. So that I would imagine that that would remain constant.
So we'd lose them from the north and the west then, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I've got a lot of sympathy for Councillor Filipaina and Councillor Casey's recommendation, but I'm not going to be voting for it, and I just want the chance to say why. I read this carefully because coming from the West, I'm not deeply connected with this on a day-to-day basis. We're pretty well looked after by our 2 licensing trusts and grateful for them. So some of the issues that our boards are raising, I kind of have to read their feedback to understand that. It seems to me, however, we've got, I voted for the what is essentially option 3, which is the local board boundaries-based approach. I, however, think we're rushing this a little bit, so I'm agreeing with my colleague Councillor Cashmore on this one. I think we're better to look at the systemic issues, which are we need to get consistency into the way the hearings are conducted and make them more people-friendly. B, we need to get our boards really ramped up to be supporting and working with their communities. And C, we need to really understand the impact of those LAPs and how they roll out. So I think I don't want this to be portrayed as you're either empowering communities or not empowering communities. This is a legislative process, and despite the fact that we're very keen to reach towards community empowerment, this is still a legal process where you can't show bias and predetermination. Like so many of the issues around here, we're bounded by law, not politics, not popularity. We have to actually stick within the boundaries of the law. And, you know, we may have gone down a slightly different track if we'd had the board-by-board process in the beginning. I don't support changing horses halfway through. I think we can do better, but not by changing it structurally at the moment. So I apologise to my 2 colleagues, understand the intent, I'm not going to be voting for it.
Thank you. And Councillor John Watson.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Yeah, it is a little difficult to follow this debate in some respects as to what's the best way forward. I mean, and in that respect, I'm going to take a rather simplistic view. This concern of the southern boards has been ongoing for this term of council and probably for the last term as well. Had a very persuasive and articulate statement of the problem, and I've been listening very, very carefully about ongoing work and taking account of these long-standing concerns, but I don't really hear that there's an assurance that they are going to be addressed in a way that satisfy the clear area of concern in Auckland, and that is down in the south. I mean, coming from my area, there could be things going on, but I don't hear anything. So this, like a number of things in the super city, is a pretty specific locale where the problem is. It's ongoing. It has major consequences. So in that respect, I look at the pros and the cons, and if I go to option 3, then there's only a couple of pros. But the pro is greater familiarity with local area-based issues, and I think that was what our submitters were talking about. And I guess you can talk any which way but move, but that's the issue here as far as the local boards are concerned, and clearly their communities. So whether it amounts to a change of tact or not, I'm seeing that this is the issue that has to be addressed, and this is the only option that seems to provide some assurance that this is going to be taken into account. As a consequence, I'll be listening very carefully to what Councillor Filipaina says in his right of reply, but on the basis of what I've heard so far, that familiarity with local area-based issues is going to be best served by option 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Darby.
Thanks, Chair. Look, members, I think it's important to look at the local board feedback here too, and I have some great sympathy for members Collins and Buckelich, and it was a great presentation from them today to remind us of the localised issues in the south. But when you look across the range of board feedback, it confirms that I think I can read on, there's 2 boards that are requesting option 3, is that correct?
That's correct.
There are there are 2 boards requesting that change. So if we make this change to what's been recommended here by Councillors Filipaina and Casey, we're actually not listening to the feedback from the other 19 boards, because the other 19 boards are not asking for that. In fact, most boards are not actually providing any feedback here because everything's going swimmingly well. We know it's not going well in some parts of Auckland, and we will address that as we progress the work program. We will address that. It's pretty clear that we will. Of course, for some, that's not fast enough. I think we just need to give some confidence here that we will address that, and I'm confident that our staff will be doing that. But when you look at paragraphs 39, it says some local boards, then you go to the summary, we find out it's 2. We know that there's a whole lot that are feeling pretty comfortable with this. Then we go to the others that are involved, and you go to paragraph 41, and in general, and I'll ask the staff what does in general mean, can we take from that there's a real high level or medium level of support from chairs, members, agencies, applicants, agents, and support? Can we just have some expansion upon in general? Can we take that there is a reasonably high level of support for proceeding with more the B and the C than the D in that category?
Through the Chair, it was the majority of the District Licensing Committee chairs and members, agencies, applicants and agents who supported retaining the existing model. I used in general because some were ambivalent on the basis that there really wasn't enough information over the past year to be able to give them a strong view on that. It was the minority that supported changing the model to a localised approach.
Okay, so just in summary, Chair, I think the best route for us to do our work thoroughly is to go with B and C on the board, which are yet to be moved, rather than just reacting now to the very real concerns that we're having articulated from our Otara, Papatoetoe and Māngere o Tahu, boards by jumping to 3. Let's allow our staff to do this work over the coming months, come back in August and guide our way through this with some intelligence and evidence.
Thank you. No other speakers? Right, Councillor Filipaina.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, just want to pick up on some of the comments that you've made in regards to option 3. Option 3, and members again, please read it on page 17. Option 3 is DLC model that was proposed and report to the governing body on the 22nd of August 2013. So I hear comments around this particular committee room saying, let's not rush into it. 2013? I mean, so Chair, I just wanted to explain that. The option 3 was there 2013. So we're not rushing into anything. I don't know, and I'm unsure whether I should ask through to you with Councillor Crum and whether she was here for the presentation from the local boards. And Councillor Crum, the only reason I asked that is because on the cold face it's not working for the southern boards. That's why they came through. It's not working for them, and that's all. They came through and said, look, it is not working. This option that we had, it's been 2 years. It's not working. This is why they came to us in regards to this particular agenda item. Chair, if we go back also to one of the councillors here mentioned the local board feedback, and that, look, 19 boards are going to be missed out. Can you read 83 and 84? Because 19 local boards are happy with it. Well, of the boards that did not provide a response, 8 indicated that they had no substantive feedback to provide due to the lack of activity and or issues with DLC. Lack of activity. Guess where the activity is, councillors and members? In the south. Guess where the problems are? In the south. They did not want to comment because they've got no issues in their particular local board area. Deputy Mayor mentioned the 2 licensing trusts. And I mean, look, I'm glad that they do have the licensing trust, but read 84. 84 is said here, the boards based in the west of the region also chose not to provide a substantive feedback. It appears that this was in part because of the involvement of the number of elected members in both the licensing trust and DLC in this area. Congratulations. Well, it's not working out in the south. It's not working out there, and I love the fact that it's working in some of the other areas except for the south. 2013 and August 2013. We've had it since then. Nothing's changed. It's actually gone worse. When does the LAP at this stage end up coming back to this council? Mid-2016. So what we're saying here, for those that are going to vote against it, from my perspective, is we're saying let the problems in the south continue. Let them continue. I really don't have any faith in regards to some of the issues that the local board chairs have brought to us in regards to that being fixed. I don't have any faith in the fact that it will pre the LAP. And that's in another year. So for me, it's not a rush into process. 2013, the option was made to us, and I remember that debate and kōrero that we had out in Manukau. I remember that, and it was very divisive in regards to our views. Well, we've had that period, and we're now getting feedback from our local board saying it is not working for us. Our community are suffering. We do not like the process that we as the governing body have put in place. So for me, I'm asking people to support this, at least if there is anything that we come across later when and hopefully this gets through, then we can address it. But I'm just asking the committee here to report it because it is around empowering our communities. I understand around the quasi-judicial sort of format that we have, but it's about our community. It's about listening to our local boards who are definitely part of our community. So, Chair, I just employ the committee to support the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take it